With evolutions now flying out, you need to be careful what evolutions you choose and what evolutions you do with existing players that you have. I might be thinking, well, what the hell am I talking about? Well, there's some things just to very much note here. So, with some of these evolutions, a lot of these cards now, as we go towards evolutions, you can see that apart from these silver ones, you're seeing, look, 90 rated. It hasn't been a lot of time. It was 88 for a long time, then it was 89. Now they're moving towards the 90 rated cards. But this is where you got to be careful. So you can see it was 89 in Hawk 2, and now during Team of the Season, as I predicted a bit earlier on, it's going towards 90. But that also means you have to be very smart. You know, for example, this Hawk evolution is okay, it's capped out at 89, but you could really buff a player up. But the problem is, if you use a Hawk evolution, I'm just going to show you an example. Let's say we took any player here, and let's say, for example, like Eto, right? Now, you're buffing up his stats. Sometimes it's not even worth it. But this Hawk can be used for something other. Let's say we go to page 60 as an example, right? As a random example. But there's probably a card here where the Hawk actually really buffs up the card that makes it worth it. So you can see, for example, like this player here ends up getting 99 shooting. Do you see that? So they get it from Golazo. So do you see how you can probably wait to do these? But also what's more important, this is now the most important thing. Some of these evolutions you have to bear in mind are not going to be useful now, but in the future. So let me give an example, right? Let's say Gladiator, right? Now Gladiator is fine, but you see I've got an 89 rated player, Gabriel, okay? Now when I do him, I make him 90 rated, which this is fine, you know, because I can still use Gladiator, for example, like some of these cards, I can make them 90 rated. And what we do know is the way the game is going right now, I'll show you very quickly. If we change screens, you can see that there's going to be 90 rated evolutions. Yes, there's some, for example, the Sunday League Ringer. This is, of course, silver players, and that is why I actually really love these evolutions. When they buff up these players that you otherwise wouldn't use, I just think this is an incredible evolution. We'll come back to that in another time. But let's say, for example, like here, pump you up. You can see he's 90 rated. So doing something like this and doing these kind of evos is fine. What I would say is you want to err on the side of caution is, for example, doing something like this. Now, you got to be careful because you could take a 90 rated card and you can maybe buff them up too much. Now, this may be not even a good example. What I'm trying to say, I'm trying to find one now, just a random example. But like, for example, this one, Starring Role, you might have a card that you have in your team for a long time, or let's say they're a very good card, or let's say you have another evolution you did previously. You got to be careful because when you're taking them to 91, 90 sprint speed at this stage of the game, I think it's not low, but I think it's in the minimum at this stage of the game. So you got to be careful because you could end up buffing a player that you don't want to buff up all the way, like pump you up, right? Let's say, for example, Vlahovic, right? This card here, you end up making him 93 shooting, but then that's it. He's stuck. When is there going to next be a card that has, as you can see, the requirements here, max 90? When they're going to have 93? I don't think until maybe they might not even have it. Maybe until footies. So you got to be careful who you commit in. So when I'm choosing a player now, I'm just being extra careful. And as I explained to you, I have so many, for example, like, you know, with Gladiator, Jack of all trades, I got these evolutions, but like here, I'm making this guy 92 rated. Is it worth it when there's a big chance I can actually pump this card up all the way? Now, I think it's a good evolution. Don't get me wrong. I'm thinking, you know what? This card here can play as a left back. I think this is actually a very nice card. Good defensive awareness, good passing. Now, you know what? I actually might do this card because I already have Kadioglu who's got the incisive pass as a right back, which I really like. So you know what? I actually might consider doing that. But apart from that, look, these ones where they're capped at 90, I mean, sure, you know, for example, Gladiator, this is running out in 13 hours. For example, this Rashford card, I can make him 90 rated. That way, when the team in the season evolution comes along, something like this, like here, something like this, I can then go ahead and put the card in evolution. Simple. But then, so like for example, here, Nunez, look at this Archie Gray, all these cards that I've evolved prior, I can now not max these cards out, but like, you know what I'm talking about, make them 90 rated. But that's why I just wanted to make this video. I just wanted to say, just be very careful, because if you're like me and you got a second account, you got all these players that you probably haven't used for some time. And a lot of these cards also equally, like this is a Netty card. Okay, this is an example of someone that you could just buy. So like, unless you're like emotionally attached to the player, because let's say you're an Arsenal fan or Inter or whatever, whatever team you support, then I understand. But like for example, like here, I think he went up, didn't he? He was like dirt cheap. Yeah. But like for example, because he's 89 rated, he's ready for evolutions. So, you know, for example, you can get in Gladiator, but you could just buy this card for like 30k, and you could argue, is it worth spending money? So these are just a few things just to consider. So when you're doing your evolutions now, just be very careful. Understand the cap is around 90. So if you do a card and somebody, something like defensive driver, it's making a card 91. Okay. So you can see, look, as soon as you commit the first stage of the evolution, look, first stage already pushes this player to 90, right? So you got to be careful. If it's 90, they're going to 91. So if you're doing, as an example, someone like this, that's fine. But if I'm doing Patterson, I got to be careful. Pushing this player to 91, it's not ideal. His sprint speed is good, and that's what carries him, but acceleration is not. And it could be an evolution like 94 sprint speed, 95 sprint speed. We had them a few weeks ago. It could come back now, these combinations. So you have to be really smart about who you choose and who you do. So that would be a card that I'll be most definitely not be doing. So look, the point I'm just saying is just be very careful. And you can always see, for example, on the right hand side, you can see going to 93. So pump you up right now is the biggest bump in evolution. And also, don't forget as well, combinations. Don't ever forget. You can, if you're ever unsure, let's say you're waiting for me to make a video, or maybe you just can't be bothered to even enter the stats sometimes. Just go on the trending players. Just have a look at what people are doing, so you can see Miko Marino. Wow, that is actually a very nice card. I think he's probably going to be extinct now, almost identical. But look at this. That's a pretty nice card by Marino. He can play centre mid, 99 physicality. But I know also that he has to go to 89, then 93. So I've got to be careful with sprint speed. If you're ever unsure, what you can do is a quick NealGuides tip is do sprint speed and just put a bit extreme. We're gonna go 92 because I think we don't want to go too extreme. But 92 sprint speed and acceleration. I'm gonna be honest, this is pushing it. But let's say we went from 90 to 90. You can see some of these cards. If you really want to go extreme, which I would not recommend, you something like 95. And if you're really unsure, I don't think there's even that many pages, but there is actually quite a few. It's because that's silver evolution. Without that silver evolution, so I'm just going to get rid of Sunday League, ring it here because it's a bit of an extreme one. But you can see that there's not that many players available. So when you're looking for some of these cards, like I'm just going to put 92, make it a bit more realistic. So you've done like this Dembele card. Wow, what a card. Hawk, Gladiator Hawk, starring role. This card is very good. This will last you actually some time. I'd actually consider the finishing is actually no. Looking back now, the finishing is not ideal. But if you're looking for a cam, I think he's a good card. I mean, his finishing could be much better, but I think you put a hunter on it, it kind of resolves that issue because you've got the long shots as well. But look, anyway, the point I'm just trying to say is, look, if you filter those out, you can decide, okay, which one of these players are mega players, like Joe Linton, right? This is an example of mega player. Can't play CDM though, but if you don't use long shots, I think he's a good player. You know, these are all the things you have to take into account and think about. Like this Lewis Skelly card. I might actually do that card as an Arsenal fan on my other account, actually. I should have done Arsenal past and present this year. That's a mistake that I made. Look at these, some of these low-rated cards. 99 shooting with Golazo. I used it, of course, the Golazo for my evolution, so I can't use that. But I'm going to put Sunday League Ringer back on now for a second. So you can choose some of these cards, and like, let's say I'm looking for an attacker, right? So I know what I want nowadays. So I'll be honest, finishing 90, shot power, we're gonna go 88. Long shots, we're gonna go 88, just because of Sunday League Ringer. So we got to be careful about how far we go. Agility and balance. You know what? I want 85, 85. Composure. If they haven't got 85 composure, I don't want to hear. Reactions, I don't really care about. We're just going to put it at 80. As long as it's above 80, it's fine. Stamina, I don't really care about as a sub. If someone is starting is important. And then let's say, for example, short passing, which is the most important, 85. You can see it's quite a few cards there, to be fair. Anyone that's 5-star, 5-star, which is not going to leave us that many options. Like Sun. So you could actually use Gold Sun, put him in Mirror. Wow, you got a pretty dope card there. I think this is really cool though, how you can make some of these gold players. I think these evolutions here, so good for the game. Like, cause imagine if you don't play the game the entire year, but you can put a gold player in these 10k evolutions. I think like this is like a crazy evolution. They should do more of those stuff. Let's get rid of that. Let's put this in. Not that many players. Mia Ham still there. This 89 card. You know, I had a funny feeling this card would go up. I had a chance to buy her at this point here, but I didn't. So for the future, always remember a card like this that's icon level, that has already good base stats, good sprint speed, good finishing. They're going to be eligible in a lot of evolutions. So whenever you're looking at a card like that, have a look at those. Although there's literally no difference in these, but there could be other evolutions that she could be chained into. Not now, but there was others as well. And the masses, they would just see this card and they would just do it because it's a potential evolution. So even if you get one playstyle, it's a reason for them to purchase the card. What we're going to do is I'm going to put reduce acceleration here to 88. And what I want to do is the finishing is what I want to change. We're going to put the finishing to 92. That's what we're going to do. And the reason why I'm doing this is I just want to see who can really put out there. That's the Golazo cards. Like, for example, this Philogene card. Nothing's replacing my Philogene, but look at that. Is anyone really, this is Philogene? If you're looking for a card, that's a really nice card. Is there anyone else that I'm really considering right now? Dempsey, that's a cool one. Yeah, he's extinct. That's a cool one as well. And we're just going to have a quick look at some of these players. I really like this card here. Very good card. I like the fact that you can play right mid, cam, left wing, and striker. I think that's a really good combination, to be honest. What do I need to do? Hawk, Mirror, Hawk, Gladiator, starring role. Probably won't do that at this stage of the game, but I think you know, even to get him to this segment here. So also when you're doing evolutions, or this is me anyway, I'm thinking about what I could do. And sometimes there's player caps now. And a lot of these player caps, like starring raw, right? You can see max 99 rate, 90 rated, pace max 93, and defending max 85. So I think as long as these certain stats like pace doesn't go above 95, like if you have someone that's got high finishing and high sprint speed, but the rest of their stats are lower, which makes the overall average for that stat lower, they're very good cards to choose. So like let's say I wanted to really do a future evolution, I could do all of these. You know what I might stop at? Or it could probably go towards gladiator. But look here, I will stop here, right there. Because now I can make a card in a few weeks' time when the team of the season evolutions come out, when more of them come out. And I've already got a base good card that's already very good. Rapid playstyle. Kind of what I want. So obviously you got to take this into consideration. You got to look at, okay, do I have those available? Now I know on this account I don't have this available. So Hawk 1 is gone for me. And so is Gladiator. No, Gladiator I got. But that could be something that I could consider. So that is making an evolution for the future. Something just to take with a grain of salt. So when you're doing some of these cards, and this Marmouche card, look, I'll be honest. I'll tell you, this guy will eventually get into an evolution. And I think that's a really good setup. That's actually a really good setup. But anyway, just some food for thought. Hope you enjoyed this video.